With the recent news of a Solana spot ETF filing, hope is coming back into the cryptocurrency space. As Bitcoin and the total cryptocurrency market cap retest their major yearly support levels, will the market spring back to life, or are the bears going to continue to hammer it down? Let's go ahead and find out. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. In today's video, we are taking a look at Bitcoin from a macro and a short-term perspective, going over the key levels, what you should be paying attention to, and what is likely to develop over the coming 24 hours. We'll also be jumping into Bitcoin dominance and the total cryptocurrency market cap, leaving absolutely no stone unturned. Before we do get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos of Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. If you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, join us on VIP. We have nearly 700 members. We post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. Not only will you get access to this group, you'll also get access to our group chats, our general chat, trading chart and education chat, help, daily video, news, and trade setup chat. If that is what you're interested in, you can go ahead and contact me in the pinned comment of the free channel by clicking my name or click these links for more information. The VIP channel has been around since February 2021. Without further ado, let's dive on in. So in the past 24 hours, we have seen a little bit of price action of Bitcoin. We've created a nice higher low on the short term. If we zoom into that short term price action, as discussed in yesterday's video, we were talking about how Bitcoin would need to develop a higher low and then break past that prior high to really show signs of strength developing, and the price will likely to continue higher if we were to see this play out. So at the moment, what we have seen is we saw a rally up over the past few days. We saw a little bit of a correction, but that correction created a nice base of support around that 60,600 level, and we have since seen a rally back upwards to retest that prior high point, rejecting on the short term. And this rally upwards was largely due to a piece of news that came out, which was centered around Van Eck filing for a Solana ETF. Now, this is actually a pretty big deal, guys, because it shows us that, well, if Solana can get approved for ETF, what other cryptocurrencies out there may be in the pipeline for an ETF down the track? Could we see more altcoins? Would this potentially be the catalyst to start an altcoin cycle, altcoin rally? These are questions that now have become apparent that we need to kind of focus on later down the track and definitely be aware of. So it's actually a pretty big piece of news over here that just got published about 12 hours ago. Definitely go ahead and check this out, do some more research on that because it is pretty significant. But with that being said, moving over to the market data, 24 hours, we have an increase in volume by 2%, sitting at 98 billion. 24-hour liquidations down 22%, sitting at 71 million. Of the 71 million in liquidations, 27 have come from longs and 43 have come from shorts. Again, looking at that preliminary price action, we can see a lot of shorts sort of been entering on this move toward the downside, only to see that liquidation occur. And in the last 24 hours, a lot of people would have entered into high leverage late longs upon the release of that news event, expecting continuations in Bitcoin's price action, only to be chopped down on the short term. Again, overall, not too much happening in the short term, but we'll come back and discuss exactly what is happening and what to expect when we get up to our short-term analysis. The DXY is still looking relatively okay. Again, we do need to see, if we want to see a break upwards and continuation, we will need to see this RSI close in 22 hours, and we will also need to see the price action break above this downtrend within 22 hours. So it's quite unlikely we do see that within a 24-hour period, but we do have to note we have some economic news coming out today, which is going to be our personal income and spending and our PCE data. Depending on the result of these events, we could see the DXY take a dramatic move in either direction, which could definitely influence the likelihood or again, whether or not we do or don't see the close above this trend line in the next 22 hours. Of course, closing above this trend line would indicate a break of this 8-month-long downtrend. That, of course, would be very, very bad for cryptocurrency because, as we can see on Bitcoin's chart, that downtrend on the DXY corresponds to this uptrend on the Bitcoin chart, which is our bull market uptrend. So essentially, the entire time the DXY has been in this respective downtrend, Bitcoin has been in this respective uptrend. So generally, we do see pretty strong correlations on the higher time frame between the strength of the dollar and the directional movements of risk assets. So we would like to see the DXY close underneath this level. Again, while we remain under this downtrend, we could still see corrections lower, which would be very, very bullish for risk assets. However, if we do start to see those breaks above, that could be a warning sign for risk assets. Again, not definitive proof that we're going to see corrections, but a strong warning sign. Moving over to the S&P 500, continuing upwards on the weekly over here with 21 hours remaining, it was able to break back above the weekly closing price of the prior candle, looking relatively bullish over here. Again, while we remain above this prior high, we are expecting macro continuations closer to that 6,000 mark on the higher time frame. That is it for broader market updates. Let's jump into Bitcoin now. A quick word from today's video sponsor before we do. I wanted to briefly interrupt today's video to discuss the two major exchanges we use on this channel, BitUnix and BingX. If you sign up via my links down below, you'll get access to 15% lifetime discounts on all of your trading fees, including up to $5,000 in bonus trading rewards. BitUnix is a global no KYC exchange offering access to absolutely everyone from every country on the globe. Whether that be trading spot or futures, there are over 200 trading pairs with access to 125x leverage, making it the perfect exchange for day traders. If you are interested in another option, we have BingX. BingX, as like BitUnix, has access to over 200 spot pairs, large liquidity pools, and 125x leverage. However, they do have a pending KYC regulation, and they don't offer services to the USA, the Netherlands, and Canada. So go ahead and check out those exchanges via the links down below and join us where we trade on BitUnix and BingX. Let's get back into the video. Okay guys, let's go ahead and jump into our cryptocurrency analysis, starting on the total market cap today. We're jumping over to Bitcoin dominance, then jumping over to Bitcoin, and finally finishing up on the short-term price action. So as we can see, we had 3 days remaining until the weekly candle close. And this weekly candle close is going to be a very, very important weekly candle, as we are currently retesting not only the major $60,000 support for Bitcoin, but on the total cryptocurrency market cap, we are retesting a critical yearly support. And this yearly support is going to be the dead cat bounce high after the prior 2021 top and acts as a yearly level of resistance, which we finally broke up out of all the way back over here, guys, which we have now been sitting above for around 3 to 4 months. We have retested this level again over the last 7 days, and 3 days until that weekly candle close. The reason this is so significant is, as what we are seeing on the chart is we're seeing an attempt to a support resistance flip. This is essentially when a prior level of resistance gets retested, broken, and then turned into an area of support. This means that if we are able to establish this region as an area of support, we have this ability to continue much, much higher from this region. However, if we fail to sustain this level as support, we could see the start of a high time frame correction for Bitcoin and for the total cryptocurrency market cap as a whole. Remember, the total cryptocurrency market cap is directly a reflection of the strength or the health of the entirety of the crypto space, that being Bitcoin, Ethereum, and collectively all the altcoins. So it's a great representation of whether or not the crypto space in general is bullish, is in a position of strength, or is bearish, in a position of weakness. While we sustain above this level of support, we are technically bullish. While we're sustained above this area of support, we have a high time frame region of support right below us, facilitating, or which could facilitate, a continuation higher. So, to put it very simply, above the green line, we are bullish and we are expecting higher prices. Below the green line, we are bearish and we are expecting corrections to prior areas of historical support. The likely region for that on the total would be around 1.6 to 1.4 trillion if we were to fail to sustain this region of support around 2.1 to 2.2 trillion. So a pretty significant drop there could occur if we do not bounce from this region. Now, like we all know, and like we say all the time, you have to trade with the trend until it ends, and support is support until it is not. So until we have definitive evidence that this region is going to fail to sustain, we have to assume it is sustaining. So at the moment, we are expecting this level to be defended, and we are expecting a positive reaction from this region moving forward, and we will remain by that until this region is unable to sustain as support and breaks downwards. So that is a total crypto market cap, and this is very important as we move into Bitcoin dominance now, as it plays a massive role in determining where altcoins could go in the near future. So let's move over to Bitcoin dominance. What we can see on Bitcoin dominance's chart is Bitcoin dominance has been retesting a critical area of resistance now for a few months. And this area of resistance was the area of support for Bitcoin dominance in the 2019 to 2021 period, moving into what we knew as the parabolic phase, so 2021, that 2021 bull market. This was the 2021 bull market for altcoins, okay? So we are retesting that prior support as a resistance. We are doing a resistance support flip. So what does that tell us? It tells us while we sustain below this region, we do have the possibility to see a parabolic season for altcoins like we have seen in the past. For a parabolic season to occur for altcoins, there needs to be two things that develop. Number one, we need to see Bitcoin dominance correct massively. And number two, we need to see the total cryptocurrency market cap increase. This would suggest that money is flowing from Bitcoin to alts and money is flowing into the market in general. This is the perfect environment to facilitate parabolic growth for altcoins as a whole. That gives us a multitude of other scenarios which could massively impact or prevent altcoin season from occurring. Number one, if we were to see Bitcoin dominance increase, that would again take away from the percentage growth we would see on altcoins in comparison to Bitcoin pairs. And number two, if we were to see the total market cap decrease or drop below the support, it is highly unlikely we will even see an altcoin season at all. So again, for us to see an altcoin season, the total market cap has to bounce from this region, and we need to see this correction on Bitcoin dominance, which is falling on the short term, extend to a higher time frame. If we look historically, generally during prior bull markets, we see Bitcoin dominance drop to a low around 40 to 38%. Whether or not that will happen this time around is hard to say, but assuming we follow historical patterns, we should see a large correction overall for Bitcoin dominance, which could result in, again, money flowing into altcoins, which will push a altcoin season. Something to pay attention to, guys, and something to watch. Let's move over to Bitcoin now on the weekly chart. A very similar situation as per the total cryptocurrency market cap, and that is Bitcoin is retesting its equivalent yearly resistance as an area of major support. And this resistance is no other than the Pi cycle weekly high of the 2021 cycle. Again, the Pi cycle high is not the top. The top was all the way over here at 69K. This was the Pi cycle high. Still a very important level, okay? The reason why it's so important is because we broke above this region of resistance, we deviated below. This is marked as deviation from the trend. The deviation was still the top, but it was deviation, meaning this level of resistance is the true area of resistance we are really going to challenge. Notice how we flew right through that prior resistance with absolute ease. However, we've been challenging this area of support for a very, very long time. It tells us this region of 60K is a little bit more significant than that region at 69,000. So 60K has absolute significance and holds a lot of weight in regards to where the price action is likely to go in the future. Of course, as we saw as a total, a weekly close under this level would potentially mark this as deviation and result in not only a breakdown from this high time frame horizontal consolidation we have been developing in for now the past 3 months, which could result in a correction, which we'll discuss in a second, but would also result in again deviation from the 60K region, resulting in an initiation of a high time frame downtrend for Bitcoin. So, provided we remain above 60,000 on the weekly, we are technically bullish. We are technically in a horizontal accumulation pattern above the prior cycle high, the prior cycle, above a bull market uptrend, which is going to be, again, that 8-month-long uptrend we can see for Bitcoin, which is fantastic. Now, we discussed in yesterday's video a couple of warning signs, which we are a little bit concerned about, but we also contextualized why those warning signs are developing. Most of these moving average-based indicators, which are showing warning signs, are developing as a consequence of the discrepancy between a period of massively increased volatility, which was that lead up into the horizontal consolidation, followed by a period of macro horizontal consolidation with decreasing volatility and decreasing volume and momentum. This has resulted in all the moving average-based indicators to eventually compress and to even converge and flip bearish. That doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin is bearish. It is just a representation of the strength of price action in this period in comparison to this period, okay? If we go from a period of massively increased volatility to a period of massively decreased volatility, the moving average-based indicators, which are based on average price action over a period of time, would signify steep corrections and thus would signify excessive weakness, and which can be misinterpreted as overall macro weakness. So it's very important to make that distinction between your structural levels of support and your technical levels, which are just derivatives of the price action itself. So moving from that point, while Bitcoin remains above the bull market uptrend, we are technically bullish. You can see the bull market uptrend converges with that horizontal support level of the horizontal consolidation range that we have been in for the last 4 months at around mid to late July. If we were to break below this level, that would indicate a correction on the high time frame is going to occur. That is the validation for a reversal in the trend per se. Again, another easy way to look at things, guys, is if you want to eliminate bias, invert the chart, okay? Are we in a downtrend? Well, according to this, we are in a downtrend, right? We're in a downtrend. So, are we in an uptrend? Yeah, we're in an uptrend. That's literally it, guys. Is Bitcoin in an uptrend? Simple question. The answer is yes. This trend is a representation of the trajectory of price action over a period of time, which matches up with the downtrend of the DXY. We know the DXY is inversely correlated to the strength of risk assets, as it is a representation of the strength of the dollar. And as the dollar increases in value, we see a direct opposite reaction in risk assets as they devalue against the dollar itself. When we look at risk assets, they are all valued against the US dollar. So we can say, for example, if we see a macro uptrend developing on Bitcoin, is likely to assume we have a macro downtrend on the DXY. So we have confluence across these markers over here to actually validate the fact that Bitcoin is an uptrend. Now, there's much more to it than that, and I can go on for hours about that, but there's no real point, guys. It is very simple. Bitcoin is an uptrend, and if you trade the trend, you will respect this trend until it ends. And one day this trend will end. One day Bitcoin will break down and enter a downtrend. But if you were to trade this trend the entire time, you will come out at the end of the day at a positive as opposed to a negative. The only people really worrying, like I said, are the people who entered Bitcoin in these ranges. The people who entered over here are stressed out. If you entered early, there is absolutely nothing to worry about, and you have to respect these levels and wait for these levels to invalidate before you make dramatic macro decisions on where Bitcoin is going to go next. So let's move over now to the short-term price action. As we can see, this is the short-term price action of Bitcoin. We have zoomed out slightly over here, but I want to show you the lower ranges. As we've said, we have that macro uptrend for Bitcoin we have to pay attention to. Furthermore, if we break below that macro uptrend and a horizontal support at 60,000, we can see there is a large gap in the VRPV. So we do have this downside potential, guys. This downside potential could take us to 52,000. If we fail to sustain these levels, if we fail to sustain this uptrend, this horizontal support, we are likely going to see a correction to 52K, okay? That is what the charts are suggesting. Obviously, we have to let you know. The charts are telling us if we do not sustain the current high time frame supports, a correction to 52K is possible. Now, if we zoom into the charts, the possibility of that move is likely. I wouldn't say likely. It is on the table while Bitcoin remains in a downtrend. So if we look at the short-term downtrend, this is a representation of the downtrend Bitcoin has been in. If we break above this downtrend, the possibilities flip in favor of directional continuations back up to our range high. We are in a horizontal range after all. We generally bounce between ranges lows and range highs. While we remain below this downtrend, as we can see the trajectory of the downtrend eventually breaks our support, it means there's a possibility we do see a loss of this support region prior to breaking out of that downtrend, and therefore we are in this apex region, which is going to be our zone of danger or our decision zone. This is a zone of which we will see a definitive move, whether it be a definitive move above this trend line or below our support by the 2nd of July. The reason I say the 2nd of July is the 2nd of July is when that trend line converges with the 60K region. If we zoom into a very small time frame here, like we said, for Bitcoin to really start moving upwards, we need to see a break over this prior high region. It's marked out by this red liquidity box over here. That's a good example where we need to push above. We need to start closing candles above this region over here. That will facilitate a continuation through that diagonal resistance and officially the end of this multi-week downtrend Bitcoin has been in. We have now established a higher low on the short term as represented by this liquidity box, this green box over here, which will need to be sustained. If we fail to sustain above that green box, which is our local low, we could see corrections back to retest this area of untapped liquidity, our sell side liquidity from that recent correction, where we could either double bottom, print a bullish divergence, or simply just correct much, much lower. Overall, if we want to avoid the risk of the price action coming down to retest this region, we need to remain above 60,700 to 60,600. So the best case scenario for Bitcoin right now is we just simply go through this resistance, okay? Another good scenario for Bitcoin would be a retest and continuation. The bad scenario for Bitcoin would be a break of that low, which opens up the possibility for extended corrections on the short term. And the absolute worst case scenario for Bitcoin would be a loss of our sell side liquidity at 58K, which could facilitate a correctional move or directional move to retest our 200-day moving average on the daily or our macro uptrend. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.